Hey everybody, I'm MJ Acosta Ruiz, and this is Becoming Undefined. Now, you may know me as one of your favorite sports girlies, but this show, this space, is all about peeling back the layers. So, we will get into it. We will talk about any and everything. The whole point of this is to really dive deep into intersectionality, into the things that are on my mind, the conversations I've had with all of my friends in the entertainment industry and beyond that I feel so deeply need to be shared with all of you. So our very first guest is the incomparable, the iconic, the one and only Gina Torres. Come on, another Afro-Latina. It is perfect. Digging. What I love about this so much, Gina, mi amiga, mi hermana, mi reina. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being here, first and foremost. But the reason I wanted to start with this is because you posted this back in April for your birthday. We love a Taurus queen. And I love that it's a celebration of you, of your trajectory, not just in your career, but in your life. And I think sometimes we miss the opportunity to celebrate ourselves and to give ourselves our own flowers. So why was it important for you? And I love that the caption was, this is just one of the many videos I will be posting today, so brace yourselves for that. Why was it so important for you to be able to celebrate yourself in that moment?
Oh, because you're right, because it's hard for us to do that, particularly women, and I will say particularly professional women. Women in the entertainment industry, because we're so focused on looking ahead and what's next and how do we get the next thing and is there going to be a next thing and how do we 30 years go by
in a blink
and I just thought, wow, I've done some things and I've done some things that have cemented me in the hearts and in the minds of certain people, you know, in this world, and that is something to celebrate, and cemented them in a good way.
Of course, no, absolutely,
not in an infamous way.
I think also, and we've spoken about this, like as Black and brown women, we're always taught and conditioned to be like, oh, let's just be grateful to be here. And for me, this was a reflection of you taking up space and owning that space. Like, you can get every bit of Miss Gina, especially on my birthday. But it takes a beat to get to that point where you're celebratory of the space that you have earned and occupied.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, it was definitely that. I have to say, it was the first time that I consciously made a choice to expose myself. Yeah. Because that's exposure. I'm a very private person. I live a public life. Yes. I have a public profession. Yeah. But I am a private person. So to be out there and put myself out there in that way is absolutely counterintuitive to everything I was told. You know, be humble.
Listen, which there is a difference between being humble and being self-deprecating to a fault, right? And I think a lot of times the institution, and wow, a couple minutes in, we're already talking about patriarchy.
Yes.
They want us to be submissive. It's not even about humility, right? Because I think you can always be humble, and I think you carry yourself with a grace and a humility that's very obvious, but you're also confident. Because you've earned these stripes.
Yes, I have. And I mean, really, what's the most obnoxious saying in our culture?
Calladita te ves más
Thank
bonita.
you. I knew you got Calladita te ves más bonita. Yes. And it's and no, we have too much to say. We've lived incredible lives. I mean, I've beaten so many odds to this date. I plan on beating more. I plan on breaking through more ceilings and knocking down more doors. And so if not now, when?
Right. If not us, who?
If not us, who?
Exactly. So I printed this out, and I wanted to show this to you because it was the day that we met actually in person at the NHMC Gala, the National Hispanic Media Coalition.
Yes.
And I wanted to get a little POV of your perspective because my gorgeous friend, also an Afro-Latina, Monique, is there with me in that photo. And you were being honored that night, rightfully. And we were so excited but like nervous to go speak with you because there was literally a line of folks like waiting to talk to you. So it's like me and Monique, I'm like, you go first. She's like, no, you go first. She's like, you're hosting this thing, you talk to her. So it took us about 15 minutes to go speak with you. We didn't want to like bug you. But so that was my perspective. But what was your POV of that night and like leading up even to this moment and the moment that you took the stage to be honored?
I mean, it was an incredible roster of talent that was being honored that night. And still, there is that feeling of me?
Really?
Oh, always.
Wow.
Always. It's like, did someone pull out? Is someone out of town?
Wow.
Again, because you don't look back.
Yeah.
You know, I tend to look forward. And so, and when you look forward and you don't look back, there's a tendency to downplay what you've accomplished.
Sure.
And probably because your ideas of what a successful life look like. Like I have a good life. I have a good career. Yeah. You know, I consider myself successful because I own my home. Yeah. I can take care of my daughter. I can feed us. You know, all of those things that are wealth. Yeah. I have great friends. But when people start throwing the words like iconic and legend around, I mean, you're going to look around the room. There's no landing place for that on my body, in my brain. Wow. So it's still shocking and lovely and humbling, incredibly humbling that to witness people get nervous around you, people wanting your opinion, people wanting you to participate in a celebration of us, that I represent us.
100%.
And that's incredible. That's an incredible feeling. And it's not something that I take lightly. And it's not ever something that I just walk into a room and go, oh, yeah. Well, of course, it's about time. I'm like, God.
Which you could, for the record, because we're all standing there like, about time, or there should be more, or why are you not being recognized? And it's mind-blowing to me, but also the most relatable thing ever. Because it's mind-blowing, but also not shocking. Because you are your ancestors' wildest dreams. Yeah. Right? Like, I think of all that we're doing now, and I say we in the collective, right, of what we're trying to push here for our community. My parents could have never envisioned this. No. I would imagine similar with your family,
100%.
Right? I remember my parents were like, just get a stable job, put food on the table, and that was the dream, and that's why they left their countries to come here, just for a stability. And Correct. Here we are like, you know what? Television, film. And they're like, what are you talking about? Like
caviar, what?
Who? And so like thinking back, I think you're right. It takes us in our community a minute to be like, oh crap, okay, oh shit, we did it. Yeah. Like we're really, really here. Yeah. That night, I remember the speech you gave was so invigorating. I was co-hosting the event, so myself and Francia, who you know, are backstage, and we were losing our minds. We were like, Gina for president! Like ready to run through a freaking wall. But I feel like I don't know if you had planned to say everything you said in your speech and to really mobilize folks to tap into their power as a Latino community.
Si me permiten, in closing, I would like to say, pay cash, be kind, when you see wrong, do right, be active in your communities and respect those who live in it. Stop book bans. Support programs that help all of our children, all of them, have full bellies, a good education, and an opportunity to fly, regardless of who they were born to or which part of the city or the state they live in. And if there are any lawmakers up for election that don't believe in these fundamental human rights for all of those that they have sworn to represent, vote those motherfuckers out. Thank you, National Hispanic Media Coalition, for this beautiful honor. I hope to live up to it, to continue to. Good night.
Was there a shift for you when you got on stage and saw everybody out in the audience?
Yes. I mean, I started on the stage, so an audience is important to me.
Right.
I'm porous in that way, so I can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And I was also almost the last person to speak. So it had already been a long night. There was wine.
There was a lot of wine.
There was food.
Can confirm.
And it was one of those, if you don't wake these people up.
Yeah, you did that, and then some.
You know, and then there's a tendency, right? I mean, I'm not giving any trade secrets away, but once people get their awards, they have a tendency to leave.
Oh yeah.
And not stick around for the rest of it. So you're looking at maybe there's 2/3 of the audience left, if that much, by the time, if you're speaking last and by the time you're there. So I was very conscious of that, and I wanted to bring more energy into the room. And thank you for letting me know that I did that.
Oh yeah, we were losing it backstage. And so was the audience too, but we were like, oh my God, like how do we go back up there? But we were just, and also the wine at that point, I think also helped us be like, fuck yeah.
Well,
like,
and I mean, I dropped the F-bomb. So, you know, it was absolutely well received, and that was great. But it was also just a little bit of a journey through my life and my understanding of that I came late to my understanding of what I could do in terms of making a difference. To me, I look at people who are on the front lines, who are born activists. Yeah. They just have it in their blood, and then let me grab that mic and let me give you these statistics and let me rah, rah, rah. And that is so admirable and so amazing. And America Ferrera is one of those.
Oh my gosh, yes, she's brilliant.
She's incredible. And then there are people like myself who figure out how, because again, I'm a private person, who see that there needs to be something, that there needs to be a louder voice, a brighter light. Yeah. And how do I do that? Yeah. And so I try to be a ninja about it.
Do you find yourself to be an introverted extrovert?
Yes.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, very much. I don't have to leave my house.
I love being in the house.
I have set up a lovely crib.
Yeah. We live in Los Angeles. The houses are expensive.
Yes, they are.
I'm going to get every bit.
Thank you.
Of that,
yes. And sure. I cook? Come on.
Yes, which we will get into because I've been jotting down the recipes. We will get into in the kitchen with Gina T in a minute. I'd be remiss if not to talk about one of the roles that, to your point, really cemented you in the minds of so many, which was Jessica Pearson.
Afraid of you? Boy, I just kicked your ass.
And I learned recently through my exploration of the film and acting space, like they don't want you to mold into the character. They pick you because they see you in the character. Right. Once I met you, I was like, oh yeah, Gina inspired Jessica. It was not the other way around. One of the most powerful things to me, and like the girlies who get it. Yeah. Was the fierce walk in the red bottoms, because there is nothing about that shoe that was meant for the human foot.
No lies detected there. Yeah.
And it was just like powerful every time, and that's what people don't see, the pain through the art. But what was the secret to not just the confidence and the stomp, but then like forgetting about the fact that your feet are morphing into a completely other shape? Yeah.
There's two things that go into that. There's actually an art to walking in the red bottoms.
Okay.
And in those impossibly high stilettos. Impossibly high stilettos. But I will say, going back to Jessica and the metamorphosis, that was Jessica, because I don't know if a lot of people realize that there was no Jessica Pearson.
Right.
It was originally written for an older white man.
I mean, of course it was.
And and then USA was like, we got to put a little something into this.
And thank God.
We got to put and then it started with female. All right, well, let's make her female. And then there was just one. They couldn't find her. And then they called me up because I had gotten really close to another part for USA, and they had already seen.
Right. You on camera.
A lick of her.
She was there.
A lick of her in there somewhere. And I just remember walking. It was hilarious because it was like, oh, it's a meeting. Like, Then you walk into a meeting, and waiting for their meetings is all of Black female Hollywood.
The casting room.
I see.
Yep.
All right.
So this is the direction we're going in.
Exactly. They have decided that this is what it's going to be, and who it's going to be, and their final hiccup was that they were afraid that I was too young to have amassed this kind of
a partner at a firm.
Right.
Sure.
But they couldn't deny that there's something that has gotten me the roles that I have gotten historically in my career, and it is something that I was told a long time ago, and it is an innate sort of inherent authority.
There's a presence,
and they were like, so there's that. Now, got the part, knew what I wanted to do with her. Then they hired Jolie Andreata to do the costume design. So now it's all coming together, and then they pull out the red shoes. Oh, God. So now, funny story. I'll make it short.
Please, expand all you want.
When I was in New York City, I did a Broadway play called Best Little Whorehouse Goes Public.
Oh my God.
It was the sequel to the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. That's a whole other conversation, but there were these incredible chorus dancers. The costumes were designed by Bob Mackie.
Oh,
no one other who I dreamed of, because I grew up watching Carol Burnett and the Cher Show and like all of that, right? So now here's Bob Mackie taking my measurements and like putting sequins on my body, and it was like a completely surreal moment. There was a scene. There was a courtroom scene. And I loved these girls. I loved them so much. And they were dancing and singing in these high shoes.
Stiletto boots,
So there was like 12 of them. And it was like this cha-cha step. And you'd see one would be revealed, and then they'd do 2 steps back, and then 3 steps forward, and then there would be another one. And until they filled the stage in all like these black and white versions of like this outfit. And I would follow them out.
I love that.
The audience wouldn't see me, but I was all the way in the wings doing these little cha-chas in my high heels. And that was the trick to walking in those red bottoms. I just remembered my girls on the stage, on the Broadway stage, and it was a hip sway, and it was.
That's it.
I mean,
and that
just
reads.
tell Latina to cha-cha. It's like, I know what that is.
Please say less words. Like, we're on it. We got it.
I know what that is.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. I love that you mentioned your cooking and the recipes and all of that, because I think so much of everything that you do on either side of the camera and in your life really shines through. So I love that you put that part of it on social media. And I love that you've been doing some lighter recipes, like the white wine peach sangria.
Yes. Have you tried that yet?
Yes, I have. We don't have white wine peach sangria here, unfortunately.
Okay.
But we do have coffee.
Yes.
Because what I do want to have, and this is very typical in our cultura, is a little cafecito conversation.
Oh, I'd love that.
So if we can.
Yes.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salud.
I feel like my mom also, if anyone came to the house and she offered them coffee and they said no, mortal. Like, absolutely, please get out.
Wow.
You can't do that. She's
okay.
like, I'm going to make it and you're going to drink it anyway. Like, we're going to have some coffee. So in and I feel like in the cafecito conversations, that's where like you can really, let's get into it.
Okay.
Right?
We'll give the chismecito.
So one thing that really stood out to me in your story about being cast as Jessica Pearson was walking into that room and all of Black Hollywood was there. Because I think the conversation around identity and the Black community within the Latino community and that intersection is still so raw and new, not for those of us who are in it, right? Mm-mm. I mean, I would imagine, and I'll only speak for myself here, the amount of times that everyone's like, wait, you're Black, but you speak Spanish. I'm like, correct, I'm also Latina. And they're like, what? Mind blown. I'm like, many things can be. Still. I'm like, so let me talk to you about the Atlantic slave trade, but that's a whole other, right? Like, we don't have time to educate everybody on how all of this went down. But how was it for you, especially in Hollywood, crossing those two? Like, staying true to your identity, we see it perfectly in Jessica Pearson, and how you infused your Cubanness into the role and into the character and into the storylines. But how have you done that throughout your career? Because it is, I think people are still trying to catch up to that. Right. To that concept.
Yeah, and it's shameful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It's shameful that still, by and large, there is still this lack of education regarding what we all look like.
Right.
Our vast diversity.
Yeah.
How I navigated the spaces were to, obviously, as an actor, I do the role.
Sure. Yeah.
I play the role as written. I infuse her with the parts of me that make sense. But I never stopped being who I was when the camera wasn't rolling. And I think that's what a lot of us did back in the 80s and the 70s and the 60s, and still to some degree today, changing their names depending on what generation they are. I remember coming up, there were a couple of Afro-Latinas that were, from Brazil, that were from DR, Puerto Rico, Cuba, who just felt, Colombia, who were here long enough, whose people were here long enough so that they didn't speak the language. Right? So it wasn't even a thing for them because they didn't feel like they could actually fill that space. Right. So they would end up changing their last name to quit the confusion.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you have those who, like myself, who are first generation, deeply, deeply connected to our roots. And that's not to say that if you don't speak Spanish, you're not connected to your roots. I don't want to put that out there at all.
It doesn't define your Latinidad at all.
It does not define your Latinidad, not at all. I only bring it up because when something was specifically written for a Latina, then they wanted you to be able to speak it, and they wanted you to look a certain way.
Right. And that was not a melanated Latina. They wanted a little bit of a tan, but you didn't. They wanted the Eurocentric features.
Correct.
They didn't want you to look Black.
Correct.
They want you to look like, a lot of the queens that we see and we respect and admire, to look more like the Jennifer Lopez, to look more like the Sofia Vergara, who we love to look more like Eva Longoria, who's tremendous, right? But
who we love and we adore. It's has nothing to do
this is
with
the
what we feel
standard that the industry had set, but it left so little room for us to tap in and for our communities to see themselves reflected on the screen.
Right. So when you have the best meaning representation sending you up for these Latina roles because you're Cuban and they know that you can speak Spanish, and you walk in and they're not looking at you.
Right. They're like, what?
It doesn't matter what you do in the room. And that happened over and over and over again. Yeah. And so those auditions just became an excuse to put on mascara for the day. It was just, and to get in front of somebody.
Sure, yeah.
Because when you're starting out, you want to get in the room, you need to get in front of somebody, and if they see what you do, then that opens the door for something else.
Right. No, of course.
But once I got the non-Latina parts, didn't mean I stopped being Cuban.
Right.
When the camera wasn't rolling, right? Yeah. So I think that was what people remembered. I think that's what became so beloved to other actresses that were watching,
Yeah.
that when I gave an interview, I was fully immersed in my entirety, in the entirety of myself, and the entirety of my soul, and the entirety of my culture, and I was playing a part.
Right.
All those other times.
Oof.
So.
That's a heavy thing to carry. Is there, and we carry a lot.
Yes.
We carry a lot. What do you carry that you would put down right now if you had
oh my God.
you had the option?
Other than the 5 pounds?
Stop it, Gina. Oh my God.
Other than those,
Not
5
needed.
menopausal pounds?
I hear you, but no, not needed. The proverbial thing we carry.
Yes.
Oh my God.
What would I put down?
Right, it's like, where do you start?
Thank you. Where? Yes, I mean, I can't lie to you.
I know you wouldn't.
I can't lie to you. Full disclosure, it's a conversation. It's a conversation that I've been having with myself for the last few months, which is, it doesn't have to be hard.
Oh, yes. Can we live a soft life, please?
Yes. It doesn't have to be hard.
Yeah.
And I think so much, and I don't know if it's that first generation immigrant thing. I don't know if it's being a woman. I don't know.
It's all of it.
I'm sure it's all of it, but it's that feeling of it doesn't count unless it hurts a little.
Like there has to be suffering attached to it.
Something.
For it to be validated.
So that you can feel like you earned it, and like it's good, and if it comes too easy, you question it.
Right. Like, wait a minute.
And that's not just professionally. That's also personally. That's in terms of love. That's in terms of how you're feeling about yourself on any given day.
Yeah.
And if I could just put down the, girl,
it's okay.
It's okay.
Right.
It's all right. Just jump in the flow of it, because you created the flow. The flow is you.
Yeah. Oh, that's a whole word. And that's so, so real, because I find myself in that space too. Like, wait, I just got this phone call and wait, what? Like, why? It's like we're tethered to the pain because it is generational trauma.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's wild. That cut real deep. That cut real deep. If you had one moment of retribution for yourself, like you could tell someone something that you didn't get the chance to say in the moment. Like, I replay conversations ad nauseum in my brain. And it could be positive or negative.
Yes.
Although I've had way more of the, I should have said this to get back at them.
I'm sure there's some past lives conversation I'm still like reliving in some way.
Is there a moment that comes up in your head that you're like, I would go back and I would say this? Or I would go back and be like, oh my God, like there was a moment of gratitude that maybe I didn't fully take in.
No, I'm big on gratitude.
Yeah.
I'm big on gratitude. I'm big on saying thank you. I'm big on saying I see you.
Yes.
So no, not so much that. Because I'm not necessarily, like I said, I'm a ninja, right?
And you have to be.
Yeah. Yes. So I'm not a person that blows up.
Sure. Okay.
But I honestly, I have to say that there have been times where I felt I coulda, I shoulda.
Yep.
But then it comes back around. And the way it comes back around, for me, all these years later, having achieved a level of status that I've, knock on wood, have achieved.
Right.
I don't have to go back.
Right. Oh, that's powerful. That's really powerful.
I don't have to go back. That would have been energy that somebody who didn't deserve
100%
would have gotten from me.
That's great.
And they wouldn't have gotten it anyway.
Right. Period.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that makes sense. I'm going to remember that next time.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I wish I would have, and I don't.
Yeah. But I mean, look back, because they're probably still swimming around in their primal, ooze.
No question. No question.
There's been no growth. And so it's like.
There's no need.
There's no need.
Go back there. No, you're right. That is power. That is true power. Thank you for sharing that. you talked about your daughter who's like becoming her own, own woman.
I know.
If you had to introduce yourself to your daughter, she's never met you, how would you do it? What would you say about yourself?
Is she a fan?
She's someone you've met at a coffee shop. Like literally someone who just dropped off, like, and you really want her to know like the most genuine part of yourself.
Oh my gosh, how do I introduce myself? I'd say, oh my God, you're so beautiful. I love your hair.
Yeah. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Yes.
You don't know me.
Right.
But take care of yourself. Yeah. Take care of yourself and trust your gut.
See, even in your introduction to her, it wasn't about you. It was about her. Was that almost like, is it almost like a reparenting moment for yourself? Like, what would I have wanted to hear at her age or younger?
Probably. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I my daughter, like so many of these incredible young women that are emerging right now are so. And I mean, we all did it. We all did it. We just didn't have social media.
Right.
And evil.
Truly though.
Just evil. So I think they really need to be reminded that they are enough.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
You know, como tal.
Yeah. Ahí estás. Como eres y como tal. You're great. Okay, so let's unwind for a minute as we finish our cafecito.
Yes.
What chapter are you in now? What are you becoming now? And what are you excited about?
Oh, thank you, Michelle Obama, for becoming.
Truly.
For the
Changed
process.
all our lives.
It really did. And it's so, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful statement and such a beautiful way to hold maturity. I'm not going to say aging.
Yeah.
Right? It's maturity and with any grace, hopefully you amass some wisdom in the process. I am really, really looking forward to producing. Mm-hmm. It's what I'm doing. It's what I'm in the process of. I have, beautiful projects on deck that I cannot wait to release into the world, that are vehicles for women like you and I, for that will showcase the vast diversity and complexity of what it is to be in black and brown skins, to be women, but to also show the commonality that we have. That is the importance of diversity and representation. To me, is really more to show the commonality of our spirits, of our souls, of our humanity.
The thread between us all.
Yes,
for sure.
100%.
Oh, I love that. Gina, thank you so much. It's beautiful. Cheers.
Salud. Salud.
To us.
Thank you. To us. Yes. Oh my God, MJ is one of the most unexpected, beautiful blessings that's recently come into my life. She's funny and she's smart and she's a go-getter and ambitious in the best possible way. Just a few words. I'm so excited that MJ has put this platform together, that she's hosting, these incredible voices, because it's another opportunity to introduce ourselves to the community at large. I'm so honored to be the first guest. It's just that she asked me, that it worked out, and that hopefully it's the first of many, 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 many more. I can't wait for everybody to see this. I can't wait for Undefined with MJ Acosta to be unleashed into the world. It's going to make such a huge difference, and it's going to make people feel at home. It's going to make people feel valued. It's going to make people feel seen. Hi, I'm Gina Torres, and make sure you watch Becoming Undefined with MJ Acosta Ruiz.
That's a wrap.
Salud.